Alright, hey everybody, so welcome to a review that I'm going to do on a board game, which is something that never done before. But hey, might as well give it a shot. So I'm going to start with a giant game that I just got recently, and it's called Cthulhu, Death May Die. And holy hell, this is a huge box for a game. And if you're wondering, is it complicated? A little bit, yeah. Alright, so to start off here, let's go ahead and just open up the box and get an idea for all the things that are inside. And, you know, if you're a fan of Lovecraftian horror, then you probably actually really like this, because it's just got tons of lore involved in it. But I'm going to have to put the pieces of the box off to the side because there's so much stuff. So the first thing is the rule book, which... it's pretty good. It's unfortunately like 20 pages, 19 pages here. But once you get the hang of it, you really don't need this so much. And a lot of what you're supposed to do in the game is actually written on your player cards. So it's really not as complicated as you would think, but there is a pretty good detailed rule book here. You also have this board here, which is the... I think they call it like the game board or the story. I think it's a storyboard is what it is. And basically how this works is you've got a row of, this is like the status of the Elder one that you're using. So you have two that come with the game, which are Cthulhu, and then the other one is Haster, I think, Haster. And pretty much those characters will move here based on, you know, how you're progressing in the game. And then the Elder one himself, or herself, they have a card here that tells you, you know, there's 4 stages for each boss. And they tell you, you know, what the boss is doing, when you can attack it, and so on and so forth. Under that, the Elder one has his own set of minions. So depending on which one you have, they will have a different set of minions. And then the episode has... pretty much what your objectives are, how the map is set up, and what monsters there are, and what kind of special access you can do. So you put your episode stuff here, and that's pretty much it. So, I mean, kind of the way the game works is you pick an Elder one, like Cthulhu or Haster, and then you pick an episode. And the game comes with 6, and I'm assuming that there's either going to be more or there are more. And, yeah, you just do that. So you can kind of... I guess out of the 6, you can make 16 different potential combinations, which is kind of cool. All right, then you've got all of these pieces of the map, and these are basically like they're double-sided, so each one has different parts to it. Some of them act as like staircases, and the map, the game, this episode that you're in will tell you how to set these up and where to put them. And I'll set one of these up for fun so you can get an idea of how gameplay goes and how things are generally put together. But that's that. There's a bunch of them. You don't use all of them every time because there's a ton of them. And also, you might be starting to notice this takes up a lot of space. Like this takes up a ton of space. So if you're going to play this, you better have like, you know, a good spot on the floor maybe, or preferably just a large table where you can put everything. Because I think it's a 1 to 5 player game. So yeah, it takes up a lot of room. You need some real estate. You also have a token that you will use in place of the Elder one once the Elder one is summoned. And you get this too, which is kind of like an inventory of all of the enemy pieces, which is, well, your character pieces and some of the enemies, which I don't know what the point of that is. You do have a set of these other cards as well. These are they call them, I think they're called Hysterias or something. But essentially, at the beginning of each game, each player is handed out one of these cards, and they will more or less make your game awesome or crappy, depending on which one you get. And they kind of are, you know, double-edged. Like, basically your characters get stronger the more insane they are, but every time you get to a new level of insanity, every time you gain a level, basically, something good and bad happens. It's like this one says, if there is a Mythos card near this card, play it as if you had just drawn it, otherwise heal all of your stress. This is a bad one, because you end up pulling out Mythos cards like all the time, like they happen literally every turn. And the only time that you shuffle them is if you just got the Elder one to move forward, and you don't want that to happen. So, yeah, this one's just painful. But there are some like this one, Hypochondria, which is really good. You take 1 stress damage for every wound you have, and generally you don't have that many wounds, if any. So you can pretty much use this to heal your stress in the middle of a fight, which is awesome. But yeah, these are good and bad. Just gotta hope you have a good one, which kind of makes these can make the episode that you're doing easier or way harder. So it just kind of depends. And I've actually gotten the same one a couple times, which is interesting. Maybe I just don't shuffle well. And I didn't show these yet, but these are so each character has their own character card, and yeah. So you do get on the back side, you get like an explanation. A nice portrait of the character, plus, some background story about him. And then you'll get a card with all of the different stats for your character and their skills and all kinds of things on here. And it's kind of confusing when you look at it, but basically this top row is your sanity level. And as you lose sanity, you go to the right. And each time you get to one of these red spots, you get to gain a level. When you gain a level, you get to move one of your skill points over, and essentially, like they all start on this row, but as you move them over, they get stronger and stronger. Some of them are really good, like Arcane Mastery, where if you get a star on one of the die, then you can use that. Your first roll or your first level of it lets you use the star as a success roll, and then the next level you can use every star that you roll as a success instead of just one of them. Then the next one gives you a healing of stress whenever you get a star, and then the other one is you get 2 successes for every star, and that's like stupid good. But yeah, you also have down here the stress level, which I've been talking about. It's these little lightning symbols, and these are basically every time you roll, if you want to re-roll a die, you can choose to use a stress to re-roll the die. Some cards in the game also take away stress, and if you want to claim an item, sometimes you need to use like 2 or 3 stress. So it's kind of a balance, like do you want to re-roll this die for now and risk losing out on something later, or do you want to take the chance and hopefully nothing bad happens in the near future. And then below that is your health. And your health, it's pretty self-explanatory. When you take damage, these go down, and once you get to the end, you're dead. And up here in your sanity, same type of thing. If you get all the way to here, to the health skull, you're dead. Another nice thing here is actually as you gain levels, like on this second level, you actually get to roll a bonus die, what the green dice are. And because you start off, normally you roll 3 dice, but if you have a skill or you're at a certain level, you can use an extra dice, which makes it can make things good and bad, because, well, I'll explain that later. But yeah, so you get all these, and it's like 12 of them, I think. There's a good number of them. And then you have your different Elder One boxes, and like we'll pull out Cthulhu. So Cthulhu has his own set of Mythos cards that you shuffle in with the episode ones, and then you have his minions card, like I talked about, which will let you, see basically the health of like a cultist, which is one of the characters he has with him, and then the Star Spawn, which is the special monster he brings with him. It also shows like when you're defending from him, you have to use these 2 green die. If you're defending from this guy, use 3 black dice, and special things that they do. So we'll throw that there. And then, like I said, you have 4 stages for the boss, and each one has different things going on. I'm not going to go and read through all of it, but pretty much it gets easier and harder depending on the stage. And then it has these things called Lyeh tokens. I'm not sure how you even pronounce it, but it's R''Lyeh. I don't know how you say that. But these kind of figure in with his abilities. And then I think these are actually really cool. So this is the Star Spawn model. Star Spawn. Pretty neat little figure. And then the actual Cthulhu model himself. So he's reaching out there to pet the Cartman cat. Yeah. But yeah, basically when you start this up, you just kind of plop that down there and go with it. Alright, and then you get these 6 episode boxes. Each one has basically a card that tells you how to set everything up, and it has a bunch of extra little pieces or little objective parts that you're going to use for whatever it is that you're doing. Like the first episode, which I think I'll set up for, is basically everything's on fire. So it comes with a bunch of extra fire tokens and some little cards, these little extra tokens that count as labs. And I'll kind of explain that more when I get to that part, but I'm not there yet. I'm gonna drop everything, so it's fine. Alright, then you also get the some more monsters. So like these figurines are actually really cool, really detailed, the way they wrote all the things out. I don't know what this thing's even called. They all have weird names. I think this one was like a Chthonian or something. But really, really neat little figures. And these, actually I remember what these are called. These are called flame vampires. I get 2 of these. But I get those monsters, and then you get another tray which has all your character pieces on it. They also come with these little rings that you put on the bottom of the character piece, and that's, I think, just to give you. There might be some things that talk about a yellow player or blue player. I don't know specifically. I haven't seen them, but I think I might have seen one. I don't know. Point is, they exist, and it's really just for tracking stuff on your card for the most part. And then you also get the die, like I said. So you'll get 3 black die, which are your typical rolls, and then the 5 dice that can be used depending on if you have a skill or a level that lets you use them. But also, these are pretty cool, pretty well detailed little pieces. I kind of like these. And then there's another tray full of monsters. So you have these little monsters that are, I don't know what the hell those are even called. These I remember are called Byakis or something. But again, pretty neat little nightmare fuel. And then you have these little pieces that you use to track stuff on your card. So you put those on your card to act as basically placeholders for your stuff. So neat. And then the most ridiculous of all of these is this tray, which is like a pain to put away all the time, but this has, these are all cultists up here, and they have 2 different flavors of them. So you have these ones that are just kind of, throwing their hands up and just giving up. And then you have these ones that are, reading a book and telling people to go in whatever direction. I don't know. And then you have 2 different flavors of ghouls, which these ones are powering up to Super Saiyan level. And these ones, I think, are maybe they have to pee. I'm not sure. Anyway, there you go. Along with that, you got all these other little pieces that are basically, yeah, they just do different things. You can get companions that give you certain skills. Like you might get a companion that gives you a brawling ability. And that's pretty much all these are. And then there's just basically a whole bunch of little tokens in here that I'm not even going to pull out. But they're just little pieces that you can use to keep track of other things like how much damage certain enemies have taken. It's overkill. It's a lot of stuff. But yeah, so that's that. I'm gonna go ahead and set up a scenario, and then we'll just kind of run through how the game plays and go from there. All right, so the game is set up. It's a lot of setup. It's taken a lot of effort to get to this point because just look at all the stuff you have to piece together. But once you do get it set up, the game does play pretty quickly, and I'll go through a turn for each of my characters here just to give you an idea of how things go. And I'll start with my Rasputin character here, who's blue and is holding 2 super great fireballs. So basically, during your turn, the first thing you do is you take 3 actions. And that could be run, which makes you move up to 3 spaces. You can attack. You can rest if you don't have any enemies, or if you're not on fire. Or you could trade or do one of the specific things that the episode lets you do. So for this episode, I'm allowed to extinguish fire by rolling a die and getting a success, or you can destroy equipment, which you would do when you get to one of these labs, which is these little icons here. When you run through a space that has enemies in it, they follow you, which is super neat. So this quickly becomes overwhelming, but you kind of have to be aggressive. Like, your first instinct is, I'll go into a room and take out 2 cultists, and really what you need to do is run through that room. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do my run. I'm going to go 1, 2, so that's my one. That's one of my actions. Both of these cultists are going to follow me. And then I'm going to take the action of extinguishing the fire. And all I have to do is roll 1 success. So, which on the die, there's a couple different icons here. There's a blank side. There's a exclamation point, which is a successful roll. You also have a star, which could mean different things based on skills. You've got a tentacle, and you have a success and tentacle, which means you have a tentacle and success. And there's another one on the green die that's a success and a star, or I think there might even be like a success plus a tentacle, or a star plus a tentacle. But anyway, I'm gonna roll my 3 die here to see if I can get a success. I did. I got 1, so I can extinguish the fire and move that out of the way, and that won't affect me anymore. And now I'm gonna try fighting one of the cultists. Mine actually allows me, if I'm fighting a character in the same space, one of my skills lets me attack any one of the cultists with an extra die. So I get to roll 4 die. Alright, so I ended up with a star, a success, and a tentacle. So what that means to me is one of my skills lets me use the star as a success, and then the tentacle causes me to take 1 sanity. So I'm going to go ahead and take that 1 sanity just because I don't care. And I will take my 2 successes, that star counts as 1 and the success counts as 1, and I will remove one of the cultists. At this point, I now have a couple things I have to do. So now I have to draw one of these mythos cards, and these can be good or bad. In this case, each figure in a space with an undestroyed lab takes 1 wound. I'm not in one of those spaces. And any investigator that has a guilty conscience takes 2 stress damage, which I don't have either. Now, the thing about this is, at the top there, that red symbol, that's bad. When you have 3 of those in your discard pile, your Elder One will move up 1 space, which you don't want to happen. Because once they get to the end, that's another way you lose. But yeah, once he gets to the end, it's over. Actually, once he gets to the red on the board up here, he will actually come into the world and start attacking me, as well as screwing me over, and you can't fight him until the ritual has been disrupted. So this gets difficult really fast. It's really easy to get overwhelmed. But anyway, this goes into my little discard pile over here, and we won't worry about that for now. The game just continues on like this for a long time, and realistically the games usually last about 30 minutes or so. They could take longer, kind of depends on what the episode is and how things are going, but usually you have a finite number of turns, because you will eventually just get to a point where you're just losing sanity every turn, and it's just not going to go well for you. Or you're spawning a ton of monsters that are just coming in. Alright, so that's the game in a nutshell. It's very intimidating the first time you look at it when you pull everything out, because there's so much setup and it seems like there's a lot going on, but really it's really not that complicated. It's very similar, I think, in the way it works to there's a Tokyo Destroy All Monsters game. It's very similar, but this is a lot more setup. But it's a lot of fun once you get into it, once you actually start playing, and once you understand the rules, you don't have to stare at the rule book anymore. Usually, like the second or third game, you'll understand what's going on the whole time, and you can just kind of look at your card here if you forget where you're at. But yeah, it's got a lot of replayability. Something that it can be different every single time you play it. Things don't always go the same. Sometimes you'll get totally screwed over. Sometimes you won't. But yeah, I think it's about $80 on Amazon, and I think it's probably about worth that. If you want to get it, then get it. If you don't, then hey, don't. Kind of missing out in my opinion, but it's a pretty decent game, especially if you're a fan of HP Lovecraft type stuff. So much lore in this and so much flavor stuff in here. It's really cool, especially all these little models and stuff that they've got, little figurines. Okay, so thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more of this stuff, let me know. But you know, do the like, comment, the subscribe type of thing, and hey, even share the video. Maybe if you don't want to like, comment, subscribe, maybe at least share it. I mean, that's something, right? But anyway, until the next one, do me a favor and try not to die.